I'm Johnny Ryan. Today I'll be reading All the World's a Stage by William Shakespeare. It's a poem about what we go through in life. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. The acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. Then the whining schoolboy, with his satchel and shining morning face creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrows. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good capon lines, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into a lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide, for his shrunk shank and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. So I remember when I read this poem in high school, thought it was an interesting concept or a weird way to view life. And as I read it more and more, I actually discovered that it was actually really true. It's telling us that this world is a stage, and what do we know happens on stages? Plays. So we're introduced into this world, introduced into the stage, and we're told about this play. What happens in plays? Acting. So we're introduced to this stage, told about this play, and we're asked to act. We're asked to fit a certain role and be put into positions best suited for the play. And this is basically the world changing us. It's telling us to put on a mask and act a certain way. And when I read this, I was quite distraught, especially when reading the lines that we revert back to a second childishness and mere oblivion. And he includes the lines talking about sans teeth, sans case, sans eyes, and sans everything. Sans means without. So it's telling us that we come into this play with all these things and we leave with nothing. We leave without anything. So I asked myself, well, what can I do to change that? And what we need to do is we need to go into the stage, go into this play, and we need to change it. We need to put ourselves into the play and take off the mask. Because if you just read from the script, if you go through the motions and put on the same play as those who exited and entered before you, then you'll just get that gentle applause at the end of people that have seen this before, who you've created the same thing. Now, if you put yourself into it and change the play and show the audience something they've never seen before, they'll be astounded. They'll be so shocked, and you'll get a roar of applause at the end. And in doing this, those that watch your play and see that you've changed it will change something in themselves, and they will change their play, causing a ripple effect and difference in the world. Now, basically the main thing that I learned from this is you can't change the stage. You will always be put into the stage, but you can change the play. But the world will also change you. As Shakespeare said, you go through your 7 stages. You go from an infant to a lover and all this stuff. That's gonna happen. What you can control is how much you let it change you. You can learn from the world and observe things, or you can let it corrupt you and control you. And the last thing I want to leave you with is when you take your final bow and the curtains close and you go backstage, it doesn't matter what your crewmates thought or what the critics will write about or what the audience thought. What matters is, can you answer the questions, am I proud of my performance? Or was I a puppet and let the world and the stage and the play put me in my place? Or did I take off the mask and throw it away? And did I change the play, and did I change the world? The aesthetic aspects that I'm going to be talking about in this poem are the sound, imagery, and a little bit of structure. So when reading this poem, it's really easy to detect the morbid sounds that basically give this sense of inevitability. The poem drags along, as the reader can tell, and gives us this routine of what we need to do in life. And I think this really gives an emphasis to the poem because it presents the reader with this choice of, oh, I can just drag along through life, or I can change something. In imagery, the poem is really full of a lot of images, as you could probably tell. In every single stage, he describes something different. Like in such detail when he talks about the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. We really gather a sense of what that looks like in our heads, and they'll all be pretty similar. And this really is important to the poem because it talks about these stages in life, and it can touch the reader because the reader has probably gone through these stages, so they have a better experience and they can envision things better in their brain. Lastly, the structure, this also contributes to sound. It's told in a dialogue sense. The structure really has no clear rhyme form or meter, but it is being told from a character, and because of this it gives a sense of warning and direction. So if you're speaking to me and I'm receiving your dialogue, I can either take your warning and do something about it, or I can just simply ignore it and go through these processes.